I'm sorry, but I just can't love a child that came from someone as ugly as you. After dinner, my husband suddenly said this to me. He laughed heartily, without a trace of remorse, and I was absolutely livid. How could he say something so cruel about his own child? What was he even thinking?
What do you mean by that?
What? It's obvious. I'm talking about divorce. He clearly stated his intention to divorce me. Even though he abruptly mentioned divorce, I couldn't simply say okay, without understanding why.
Divorce? Why?
I was furious at my husband, who only thought about himself, and I slammed the table as I confronted him. He replied with an annoyed look.
Damn, you're so annoying. If you really want to know, I'll tell you.
What would he say? I anxiously awaited his response. Then, he looked at me and said, I got my mistress pregnant, so that's why I'm divorcing you.
What?
I was shocked and blurted out loud. I was expecting a child with him, and yet he wants a divorce because his mistress is pregnant? How much more can he belittle me? His selfishness left me more appalled than angry. It would be better for me to divorce such a man.
So that's your reason? You don't care about us at all. Fine, I'll grant you your divorce.
Good. I'm glad you understand. So, that's that.
What about dividing the assets? Why would I do that?
I was waiting for him to say that. He didn't know it yet, but he would surely regret those words.
Fine. Then I won't share my assets with you either.
Share?
You're just a housewife.
He won't be laughing for long. For now, he can enjoy his time with his mistress. Days after the divorce, I went to his company and revealed his affair. This would surely cost him his job. Or at the very least, earn him cold stares from his colleagues. A few days later.
Please, help me!
My ex-husband came to my parents' home, where I was living a peaceful life. He was crying and kneeling at the front door. This was all his own doing. Asking for help now is just too convenient. I told my ex-husband, who I'd been silent about until now, that I wanted nothing more to do with him. My name is Yvonne. I married my husband, David, 3 years ago. He worked in sales at a major electronics manufacturer, a listed company. As for me, after graduating from college, I worked in the food service industry but quit to become a housewife when we got married. We met at a mixer I was invited to by a coworker. Wow, he's as handsome as an actor. I'm sure I wasn't the only one who thought that. I could see other women at the mixer staring at him too. But I didn't actively try to talk to David, just because he was good looking. I didn't have much experience with men and joined the mixer just to fill numbers. I thought it's fine as long as everyone else has fun. So there I was, enjoying a drink by myself at the corner of the room. About an hour later, people started to switch seats. Just as I was about to follow suit, David approached me. Drinking alone? Mind if I join you?
Huh?
I never imagined he would come to talk to me. I froze on the spot for a moment, but sensing jealous glares from other women, I quickly sat back down. David then sat opposite me and started talking. What's your name? I haven't asked yet. I'm David, nice to meet you.
I'm Yvonne.
Nice to meet you too. After exchanging pleasantries, we started chatting and it turned out David wasn't fond of mixers either. Actually, I'm not really into this kind of scene.
Really? But you're so handsome.
I hate that. People tend to be conscious around me for no reason. I just want to enjoy a drink. I had been glancing at David since the mixer started, but now I understood why he didn't seem to be enjoying himself.
I don't really like these settings either.
Then, how about we sneak out and grab a drink somewhere else? That's how our relationship quickly blossomed. We found we got along well and started dating. When I told my parents, they were thrilled. Especially my dad, who was happier than me, jokingly saying, I never thought you'd get a boyfriend. I can now leave my inheritance to you with peace of mind. My father owns a small food company, not as big as David's workplace. It seems to make a decent income. However, my dad prefers a modest lifestyle and isn't the type to splash out. 6 months later. David proposed, and we decided to get married. When David visited my home to meet my parents, my father, with tears in his eyes, said, "David, please take good care of my daughter." Seeing my dad like that, I felt a warm rush of tears, knowing I was truly loved.
Leave it to me. I'll make Yvonne happy.
3 months after finishing our greetings, we had our wedding and officially became husband and wife. Our married life was smooth sailing, we were happy, without any fights. But there was one thing we both worried about. Having children.
I think it's about time we start trying for a kid. Yeah, it's been 3 years already.
This became a regular conversation for us. We both wanted children, but they just weren't coming.
Maybe we're just not meant to have kids.
I thought such a thing. I saw my classmates building happy families with children. I felt even more guilty towards David and often apologized, "I'm sorry I can't give you children." But David would always comfort me.
It's not your fault alone. We're just unlucky, that's all. Someday, we'll have a child.
Every time I felt down, he'd cheer me up with a smile and a pat on the head. Every time I felt his kindness, I was reminded of how glad I was to have married him. Just like David said, one day we would have a child. I was determined to build a happy family. But I never imagined that something would abruptly end our happy marriage. 3 months later, I finally became pregnant with David's child. I'd been feeling unwell and missed my period, so I took a test and, to my relief, it was positive. The fertility treatments had paid off. I kept looking at the positive test result, overwhelmed with joy. I decided to surprise David with the news. I wanted to call him right away, but I held back, eager to see his reaction.
Guess what? We're finally having a baby. Is it true? That's great. I'm really relieved.
I told him after dinner when he got home from work. As expected, he was really surprised. But even more so, he was overjoyed, thanking me with tears in his eyes. "Thank you.
From now on, I'll work hard for our baby." You're gonna be a dad now, so work hard, okay?
We shared our happiness that night. True to his word, David started working late nights from the next day. Honestly, I wished he didn't have to work so hard, but I couldn't complain since he was doing it for us. I spent my days doing housework and waiting for him to come home. At first, he would come home late, but before the day changed. Gradually, he started coming home later and later, and a month after I found out I was pregnant, it became common for him to come home after midnight. Concerned about David working long hours every day, I approached him one day during the weekend.
You've been doing a lot of overtime lately. Yeah, work's busy. But it's good timing with the baby on the way, right? Overtime means a bigger paycheck. True, but...
I understood his point, but I was worried. If this keeps up, his health might suffer.
I know it might be none of my business, but do you really need to push yourself so hard? If you break down, it'll be for nothing. What? I'm doing this for you and the baby. You realize it'll be tough once the baby's here, right? I'm sorry, I didn't think that far. Besides, since you're not working, I have to be the one earning.
I had never seen David this angry before. All I could do was apologize. I didn't realize he was thinking so seriously about it. After apologizing, I decided not to bring up his work anymore. We went to bed without talking much that night. The next morning.
"Good morning,"
I said as I entered the living room. David was already sitting on the sofa, drinking coffee and watching TV. His mood seemed much better compared to last night. As if his anger had been a lie. I was taken aback but returned the greeting.
"Good morning. Want something to drink, Yvonne?" "Thank you, I'll have some."
David got up and went to the kitchen. After a while, he said, "All right, here you go." About 5 minutes later, my husband returned with my hot milk. We had a pleasant conversation for about an hour. Then I suddenly remembered I hadn't told my parents about the pregnancy.
By the way, I haven't told my mom and dad that I'm pregnant.
Really?
Yeah, I got so carried away I completely forgot.
I couldn't believe I hadn't told my parents such important news. David seemed a bit exasperated.
You should tell them first. I know. Go to your parents' place today and tell them properly. Okay.
Encouraged by David, I called my mom and decided to visit my parents. I thought my dad would be at work, but it turned out he was off and at home.
Well, I'm off then. Take care, good luck.
After seeing David off, I drove to my parents' house. It's about a 30-minute drive from where I live now. It's not too far, and I regretted not going to tell them the news sooner. When I arrived, my mom greeted me. It had been a while since I'd been back home. Even though I hadn't been away for long, it felt nostalgic.
Huh? Is David not with you today?
My mom asked as I walked into the familiar living room.
No, he's at work today. It's just me. Oh, I was looking forward to seeing him. Well, it can't be helped.
After chatting with my mom, I realized something.
By the way, I haven't seen Dad around. Where is he?
I asked, puzzled.
Didn't I tell you? Your dad has the day off today.
I could see my mom twitch when I mentioned my dad.
I was going to tell you later, but about your dad.
Her tone dropped suddenly when she started talking about him. What was going on? She sat down next to me on the sofa.
Your dad. He's been diagnosed with a tumor.
A tumor? You mean?
Yes. It's cancer. Lung cancer. And it's already advanced.
Why didn't you tell me something so important sooner? I can't say much, though, since I hadn't told you about my pregnancy. I was shocked to hear that my dad had advanced cancer. He can be cured, right? My question was met with silence from my mom. He was so lively before. Unable to sit still, I went to my dad's room. When I opened the door, there he was, looking nothing like his usual self, lying down. Dad! Why didn't you tell me about the cancer?
Oh, you're back. How have you been?
He smiled as soon as he saw me. But he looked so gaunt, just skin and bones. Hearing my voice, my mom came into the room, looking worried.
You're doing better than Dad, aren't you? Look at how you've become. I might not make it. But I'm glad I got to see your face today. What brings you here?
I couldn't tell if he was joking, but it was scary to hear him talk like he might leave this world. I wanted to tell him when he was healthier, but I might not get another chance. So, I told him about my pregnancy. Dad, I'm pregnant with David's baby. When I told my dad about my pregnancy, he smiled even more than before and said to me,
That's great. I can't wait to see the little one.
My mom, hearing this, started to cry. She probably realized that by the time my child is born, my dad might not be in this world anymore. So, don't die, okay?
Yeah, leave it to me.
My dad assured me, looking straight into my eyes. He's always been so strong. Cancer won't beat him. I decided to head home early, as staying longer would just make me think of sad things. I informed David about my dad's cancer through a text message.
That's unfortunate.
It was his somewhat curt reply. I guessed he probably didn't know what to say, so I didn't make much of it. After I got home, I must have dozed off on the sofa and woke up feeling cold. It was the dead of winter. And I hadn't turned on the heating. No wonder I was cold. Looking at the clock, it was already past midnight. Shoot, I haven't prepared dinner. Even if I started now, it would be too late if David came home before I finished. I decided it's best to ask him to pick up something from the store. I was about to send him a message when I saw he had already texted, I'm going out for a drink, don't need dinner. And I replied, okay. What time will you be back? But even after 30 minutes, there was no reply. Even though he had seen the message. He might have been in an accident. I started to worry, thinking such a thing. No reply came, and before I knew it, it was 1:30 a.m. Should I go to bed? I was about to head to bed when I heard a quiet I'm home. David had finally arrived.
Welcome back. You're late.
I greeted him at the entrance, and he seemed surprised.
Oh, you're still up? Of course, I was worried since you didn't reply.
I'm fine. Besides, you're pregnant. You should be sleeping early.
I'm going to take a shower, so feel free to go to bed first.
As he walked past me in the hallway, he patted my shoulder and headed towards the bathroom. I faintly smelled a scent on him that I had never smelled before. Didn't he say he was going out for drinks? The smell seemed to be women's perfume. Since I've been pregnant, my sense of smell has been too strong, making me feel sick, so I haven't been wearing any perfume. I had told David, so he shouldn't be wearing any either. Wondering about it, I decided to ask him if he used perfume while he was in the bath.
Hey, you went out for drinks tonight, right?
Yeah, I did.
With whom?
Just some colleagues from work.
Did any of them wear perfume? When we passed each other earlier, I smelled perfume, and it seemed like a woman's scent.
What, you're suspecting me?
I told you, I was out with guys. And hey, if a guy likes a certain scent, he might use that perfume, right?
Well, that could be possible. Yeah, you're right. Sorry for asking something weird. I'll go to bed first. I didn't press David further, but something felt off. However, considering how caring he had been, I couldn't imagine him cheating. So, I decided to let it go and went to sleep. The next day. Perhaps because I slept too much after returning from my parents' house, I woke up before dawn. Waking up at such an hour wasn't ideal. I tried to go back to sleep, but I couldn't stop thinking about last night. Did he really go out for drinks with male colleagues? Although it felt wrong to doubt him, I couldn't help but be concerned. David was still sleeping soundly. Probably exhausted from drinking. Even as I moved around, he showed no signs of waking up. That's when I noticed his phone on the bedside table. Sorry. I whispered to myself, feeling guilty for snooping, but I couldn't resist checking his phone. It wasn't locked. No way. As I looked through David's messages, I saw he had been chatting happily with a woman I didn't know. Her name was Samantha.
She's not that pretty, and I've just been using her for convenience. Maybe it's time to let go. Then break up with her and come live with me. Maybe I should.
Besides this, there were other messages. Even recent exchanges from yesterday were there.
Hey, next time, tone down the perfume. She almost caught on.
Sorry, I'll be more careful.
Did she find out?
No way.
She's easy to fool since she's so into me. It's a piece of cake during times like this.
After reading everything, I felt so sick that I rushed to the bathroom. I couldn't believe he was actually cheating. From that day, I couldn't trust David anymore. But I couldn't afford to divorce him in my situation. So, I continued to act as if I was unaware of his infidelity, treating him the same as before. Misfortune often comes in waves. A month after discovering David's affair, my beloved father passed away. I never got the chance to show him his grandchild, leaving me in the depths of despair.
I'm sorry about your father.
David consoled me during the funeral, but his words didn't touch my heart. You are cheating. All I could think about was his infidelity. A week after the funeral, I stayed at my parents' house. This was David's suggestion. Stay with your mom, he said, seemingly considerate. But I knew it probably suited him better. Giving him freedom to be with his mistress while I was away. Spending a week at home, sorting through my father's belongings, the time flew by. The day I was about to leave had come.
I'm heading back, take care.
Wait a moment, she said, hurrying back into the house. Curious, I waited, and she returned with a paper in hand.
Here, this is from your dad. Is it a bank statement, right?
I was stunned to see a balance of $1 billion. Such an enormous amount was beyond anything I had ever seen.
Your dad had been saving this for you for years. He wanted to give it to you when you got married, but he missed the chance. He asked me to give it to you before he passed. But what about you, Mom? Shouldn't you have this? I'm fine. You have a child on the way. Even with taxes, you'll be able to live comfortably.
I tried to return it, but she firmly refused. In this situation, my mother is also stubborn, so she probably won't accept it.
I'll take it, then. Do visit again. I will.
Then I left my parents' home. Returning to the house where David was waiting, I entered saying, "I'm back." But received no response. I thought maybe he was out with that woman, but when I opened the living room door, there he was.
"Oh, you're back. I made dinner."
Despite everything, he had his kind moments. I reconsidered my feelings about him a little, until I noticed an incredible number of empty liquor cans on the table.
"Did you drink all this alone?"
Yeah.
Something good happened. That's not something to be happy about.
I didn't know what it was, but he had gone to the trouble of cooking. I decided to have dinner.
"Thanks for the meal,"
I said after finishing. While I was washing the dishes, David called out to me.
"Hey, sit down over here."
His face was red as he gestured for me to sit at the dining table.
"But I'm still washing the dishes. Just sit down."
What could he possibly want to talk about? There's no need to rush like that, is there? Grumbling, I sat down as he had asked.
"So, what is it? I hate to say it, but I can't love a child that's been made with someone as ugly as you,"
he declared, laughing heartlessly. He was mocking his own child. What was he thinking?
"What do you mean by that?"
It's obvious.
"We're getting a divorce."
He clearly stated his intention to divorce me. Even though he mentioned divorce so abruptly, I wasn't naive enough to simply say okay, without understanding why.
"Divorce? Why?"
I was furious at David, who only thought about himself, and I slammed the table as I confronted him. Then he replied with an annoyed look.
"Damn, you're so annoying. If you want to know that badly, I'll tell you."
What was he going to say? I waited anxiously for his response. And then, he finally told me.
"I'm divorcing you because I have a child with my mistress." "What?"
I was shocked. I knew he was having an affair, but I never expected him to say he was divorcing me because his mistress was pregnant. How much more could he belittle me? I was beyond angry and simply appalled at his selfishness. It's better for me to divorce this kind of guy for my own sake.
"So that's your reason? You don't care about us at all. Fine, I'll grant you your divorce." "Good. I'm glad you understand. So, that's that. What about dividing the assets? Why would I do that?"
I was waiting for him to say that. He didn't know yet, but he would surely regret those words.
"Fine. Then I won't share my assets with you either." "Share? You're just a housewife. You don't have any money to give, pretending to be all high and mighty."
Money? I have more than you. You said no to dividing the assets, remember? I'll never forgive you and your mistress. At that moment, I swore to myself that I would get revenge on David.
"All right then, it's settled. Sign this,"
he said, smirking as he pushed the divorce papers towards me. I never imagined I'd married such a person.
"Is this okay?"
Yeah, okay.
"I have something to ask."
What?
"Go ahead. What about the baby in my belly? What are you planning to do?"
I asked David, needing to know, right after signing the divorce papers. The child was innocent, after all. While it's fine for him to divorce for whatever selfish reasons he has, I just wanted to know what he was thinking.
"Oh, that baby?"
I waited silently for his response.
"Can't do much about it now." "Fine, I'll just pay child support."
The moment I heard his irresponsible comment, I reflexively slapped him across the face.
"What the hell? After all I've done for you." "I don't care about you and Samantha, or what you think about my looks." "How did you know about her?" "That doesn't matter. You're saying you'll reluctantly pay child support for a child who's done nothing wrong? Stop joking around. Don't get so mad. I said I'll pay child support, isn't that enough?" "Enough. I don't want a penny from a jerk like you."
I wanted to cut ties with him as soon as possible. I had become completely disillusioned with this man.
"You think you can raise a child on your own?" Just leave me alone. I don't want your child support. In exchange, you'll never see this child. Fine by me. Saves me money.
Such a despicable man. My own child's father, no less. That day, I left the house and went back to my mom's.
What happened?
Well, you see. I explained everything to my mom. She listened silently, her expression growing angrier.
So that's it. Do you want to get back at him?
Well, I don't like being walked all over.
Then call this person.
My mom said, handing me a business card.
What's this? It's a detective agency's card. Embarrassingly enough, your dad once had an affair. I never told you, but I didn't want to let it slide, so I hired a detective to gather evidence and really cornered him. I let it go since we were young back then.
I never knew such a thing about my mom. I never imagined my dad would cheat. I shouldn't have inherited this trait from my mom. With a bitter smile, I gratefully accepted the card. The next day, I called the detective agency right away. With the information I had, it wouldn't take long to gather evidence. To make an official request, I went to their office in the neighboring town that very day.
Please, I want to show them hell. Something like that happened? As a man myself, I can't forgive that. Don't worry, we'll definitely gather the evidence.
I told the detective everything that had happened between me and my husband, and he seemed even angrier than me. It made me think again about how much David had wronged me to evoke anger even in another man. A week later, the detective promptly sent me the evidence. He said it was easy since the two of them were at home almost every day. Samantha, the mistress, was a 25-year-old office worker at a company dealing with my husband's firm. They were even spotted at a maternity clinic, confirming what my husband had said. With all this evidence, it should be more than enough. I immediately copied the photos and mailed them to my husband's company. And Samantha's as well. If their affair got out, he wouldn't be able to stay at his company. He might even get fired. As I waited eagerly for my husband's reaction, a few days passed. One morning, our doorbell rang.
Maybe it's a delivery?
But when I opened the door, there was my husband. He was crying.
What?
I said coldly. It was just annoying to have him do this on my doorstep. I just wanted him to leave.
Please, help me.
Help you?
I don't even understand why you're asking. I got fired because of the photos you sent. They were the reason.
Yes. I didn't show it, but inside, I was giving a triumphant fist pump.
Really? But why should I help you?
It's your fault. Don't talk nonsense. Give me a break with the jokes.
My fault? You're the one who cheated and even had a child, you get that?
Well, that's...
Besides, our marital relationship is over. I don't see why I should help you.
As I argued with David, he made a proposition.
You don't have an income, right? If you just say it was all a misunderstanding, I might not get fired. Report that to the company, and I'll send you just enough money to live on each month, so please.
Such a selfish man. I had no reason to do that for him. Besides, I now had more money than him. I went inside the house and brought out the bank book my father had left me. Look at this.
What? $1 billion?
Yes, I have $1 billion now.
So, I don't need your help to survive.
You really missed out.
Oh my!
David's shoulders slumped at this revelation. He must realize. I don't need him anymore.
Anything else? If not, you can leave. If you don't want to go, I can call the police. I'm leaving, just don't call the police.
He stood up immediately and started to leave. I stopped him as if to hold him back.
Oh, one more thing. What now? You still have something to say? No need for property division or child support, but I will be claiming alimony. From you and Samantha, was it? I'll have my lawyer send you the bill, so be prepared.
Hearing my words, David staggered away, even more deflated. This should make him realize the magnitude of his actions. A month later, I received the alimony from my ex-husband. I didn't want the money, but I demanded it as a matter of principle. Seeing that they paid, they might be reflecting a bit. As for my ex-husband, he lost his job soon after our split and also lost his connection with his mistress. She was only with him for his status as a handsome man working in a large corporation. Now, he's struggling, working night shifts at a convenience store until he finds another job.
I should have treasured you more. Not being able to see my child, I have nothing but regrets.
He messaged me, but I haven't replied. He got what he deserved, it's not my concern anymore. My unborn child is growing well. And I recently found out it's a boy. I don't want this child to become a selfish person like my ex-husband. I'm determined to make sure that the child soon to be born will grow up to be a strong and upright man.